I'm proud about how far I made it. You know,
Yeah.
after everything and with everything that happened, I'm happy with how far I made it. It's just, you know, it's easier to have two people pulling a sled of bullshit than one. Anywho, so it's been a while, Fred. You know what? I took a week off last week though. I had a really crazy. It was a rough week last week. I started therapy.
Oh yeah.
Today was my second session, which I cried during half of it. I literally talked for 55 minutes of this session. It was an hour-long session, and all she did was prod me with interesting things that I kept saying.
Yeah.
Because I had gone to her about my food addiction and like obviously like
Right.
bulimia and all this shit I'm struggling with. And day one, she said she was just pretty much. It's such an obvious thing to say, but something that it's the last conduit you need to connect two wires,
Right.
right? Because these two things are buzzing in my head, and then when she said it, I was like, "You're right." And she was just like, Are you sure you're not eating to shove something down?"
Right.
And I was just like mind blown. And because of that, last week was like bad but great. You know what I mean? Because I had a
Yeah.
lot of breakthroughs, but also ate like shit often because I was just like depressed.
You were going through the work. Yeah.
I was going through it, yeah, and I was so I didn't. One of the funniest things that she said was, um, one because it's clear talking to me from her perspective. It was clear that I am very black and white. You know, just like Alex used to call me 1 to 10, right? It was is either this or is this over here. I'm either going to do none
Right.
of it or I'm going to go all the way. And she was like, "Well, you just told me that." I was like, "Oh," because she said, "You're obviously very extreme. You go from one extreme to the other." I said,
Correct.
"Dan, how did you put that together during this conversation?" I didn't recall saying anything that was that. And she
Right.
was like, "Well, you just told me that you measure your depression on if you're suicidal, and if you're not suicidal, you don't think you're depressed." And I
Right.
was like, "Yeah, that's a good point." You know what I mean? She was like, "There is a gray area. There's a very long gap from happy to suicidal, and depression is all in here. It's like a very large range of emotions here." And I was just like, "Yeah, I guess that's a good point." But it was so it was good.
What is it? What you expected?
That's a good question. Um, it's amazing how cathartic it is to talk about yourself.
Yeah.
um, I she's a good therapist. She's
Hmm.
the right therapist for me,
Yeah.
right? Which is like an important thing. Um, and they just day one, some of the things that she just one of the biggest thing really was that she made me commit to doing a food diary, which I didn't even do, but I did read a lot of the material she sent me, and one of the things that stuck with me was being mindful when I was having like episodes,
Right.
because she was like, "You're not addicted to food. There's a trigger that is sending you off into this tailspin. I mean, you're addicted to food, yeah, but you have a trigger that's sending you off into this tailspin. I want you to be mindful when it's happening. What are you
Right.
feeling?
Right.
What triggered it?" And that was huge because that was when I started to realize, like times when if I ate bad when I would look in the mirror, how that would send me down a deeper hole where I would then eat bad because I'm so ashamed. You know what I mean? Because like my body dysmorphia goes off. I'm looking in the mirror. I feel ashamed, and now I want to eat worse. You know
Right.
what I mean? Um, the biggest thing was I had gone through a recent heartbreak. This is what fucked me up. This is what fucked me up today. Was I had gone through a recent heartbreak with this chick. This happened a couple months ago. That I thought I was over. I thought I was fine. You know, I thought I was fine. Like I was just like, but I wasn't. You know what I mean? I didn't realize how hurt I was from it. I knew it. I was hurt, but what ended up happening was, this is not going out, but what ended up happening was I found myself filling my time with women and food. You know what I mean? So then I started aggressively going out on mad dates, talking to mad chicks, eating like shit to stuff this feeling down
Right.
that I had not dealt with. And then all of a sudden, I started talking about Rachel. And I didn't realize I have a lot of unresolved issues with that. You know what I mean? Um, so yeah, is it what I expected? Man, a piece of me wants to say yeah, but that's not fair because that doesn't tell that makes it seem like everything that hasn't happened hasn't been like mountain moving almost. You know what I
Well,
mean?
yeah, no, I think yeah, and it's just yeah, and it's not where it's oh, did you expect like you kind of knew what you were going
Yeah,
into, but it wasn't like kind of what like I think it sounded like you've known that this has been something you had to do,
yeah,
and then you're like, oh wow, this is like I do feel better.
yeah.
I feel like I'm in the right
I
path.
see what you're saying. Yeah, yeah, yeah. Correct. Yes, I did. Yes, this is that. I did not expect last week to go how it went. I did not expect week one to be shattered. You know what
Yeah,
I mean? To have a glass ceiling completely broken where I'm like, I thought I was this over here. I thought I had moved past a lot of trauma and a lot of issues and that I was good. I thought my self-esteem was repairing and my self-esteem is leaps and bounds better than it was, but it's not healthy. You know what I mean? Like, I thought my self-confidence had, I thought all of these things and the balloon popped day one.
yeah,
You know what I mean? And I did not expect last week to be what it was all of a
yeah.
sudden. Like
That's good.
it was, it was pretty extreme. And then by contrast, this week has been a lot better. Um,
That's good.
so yeah, that's been good. That was good. Yeah. So I had therapy today, you know? Yeah.
Good.
I'm enjoying this. I'm enjoying therapy.
Yeah. No, dude. It's funny. Remember that friend of ours from England?
Yeah.
Yeah. So he actually he was here on an exchange program. Not exchange program, but he was from England, obviously,
Yeah.
and he studied at Cairn University. He was doing counseling. So what we were doing, the reason why I met him was that he was going to Kayla's church, and he was helping with the youth group. And Kayla at the time was involved with the youth group. So what they ended up doing was they kind of made a group just for the youth group leaders. And since I was dating Kayla, they said, "Oh, Fred, come in."
Yeah.
And it was probably the most. It was crazy because he ran it like almost like a therapy session.
Yeah.
And he kind of had people, like kind of tell their stories or be vulnerable, and like it was something very very interesting. I've never been in like a group
Yeah.
um like that. You know what I mean? So,
Yeah.
but he's a counselor now, and like
Yeah.
he was using those things,
Yeah.
like I guess those strategies. And I feel like a lot of people are able to get through stuff, throughout the group.
Yeah.
So it's not typically what you would call like a Bible study or whatever, but it was like, it was actually really, really, really good,
Yeah.
really good. So that's why I know there's a stigma. I feel like now it's like people are just. I feel like it's such an open thing, and I know some people don't want to do it, or they go in there with the wrong intentions.
Yeah.
I mean, they go into therapy trying to win a fight,
Yep.
like not being like really like very defensive
Yeah.
instead of like, hey, this is all part of the work. You know what I
Correct.
mean? So,
Correct.
no, but it's good, man. It's been a long time coming.
Yeah, no, I think that's the best, the biggest thing. One thing that I don't think anyone could ever take away from me is my honesty with myself has never been a problem. You know what I mean?
Right.
Like I've never been delusional. You know what I mean? Like delusional in other ways, but not in terms
Yeah,
of.
you weren't delusional. You're just stubborn.
Yeah, I'm stubborn. I'm stubborn in every. I need everything to happen in its own time. But
Right.
I also believe. I believe in my life operating at its best when things are happening its own time. Like even
Yeah.
when I started my tattoos, I had seen a tattoo artist a year before I finally found my tattoo guy,
Yeah.
and I didn't get the vibe I wanted. And when I saw my tattoo guy, I picked up the vibe, and when he sent me the first picture, I said, "This is the guy." You know what I mean? And this is the time. Everything has to happen in its own time. I do believe that, and I think this is the time. Like this is just the time,
Hmm.
and I'm cool with that. I'm cool with that. I made it far on my own. You know what I mean? Like I'm proud about how far I made it.
Yeah.
After everything and with everything that happened, I'm happy with how far I made it. It's just, you know, it's easier to have two people pulling a sled of bullshit than one. You know what I mean? So, so yeah, therapy is great. Everyone should do therapy. You know what I mean? And you know, it immediately helped. Listen, it's not going to resolve my food issues necessarily right away, but I see a clear path. Like I see a clear solution in the distance. That's like, I can get there. If I can get there, I'll be fine. I'll be able to have a day where I eat like shit and move on with my life like nothing happened. And the next day I bounce back like everything is all good. As opposed to these super negative emotions where it's like, you know, whatever. Anyway. So yeah, how you been? You know what I mean? That's that was my thing.
Dude, just been busy.
Yo. Won't catch me slipping if I'm actually thinking you're acting different. Mad experience sounds of manic depressing. Going through